another interesting thing when you talk about the evolution of the industry, and this is where I do empathise with the guys. It's the industry is harder now because you're very much surrounded also by social media.
Yes.
Well, what I mean by that is, when I was dealing with a situation, if it was the late 90s or early 2000s, people didn't have mobile phones videoing everything. So you dealt with a situation, and you didn't have 10, 15 people with their phones out antagonising the person in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
They were bad enough as they were. But now, I mean, if I was to go, and anyone could do this, you go on YouTube now and put door supervisor, doorman, bouncer, you're only going to see horrific things. You're going to see a doorman punch someone or knock someone out on the door.
Or be embarrassed.
But you'll, and I always say this to anyone, and the same when you see clips of the police. I said, what did that guy go through for the hour before that?
Yeah.
Had he been wound up and spat at and this and that? Had he turned this guy away 3 or 4 times? What do you really know? We see this snapshot, and yeah, of course they shouldn't push them, they shouldn't hit them over, they shouldn't do these things. But we are so judged now by social media, and I am just so grateful that when I was doing it on a regular basis, it was there, but it was only it was coming in, and it wasn't such a big thing. Now, mate, everyone's got a YouTube channel, everyone's got an Instagram. Before you've even started doing the instant book, you're on a story somewhere.
Yeah.
And I feel for the guys out on the street with that, because that's a hard one.
I do as well. And when you refuse someone just because they're drunk, or it could even be that you've done last entry. Some people don't even argue. They just get their phones out and start filming.
Yeah, and they create their own narrative.
And I'm like, mate, please don't film me.
Doorman refused me because I'm wearing this, or doorman because of my colour.
Come on, you were bullied at school, weren't you? You know, like that stuff. And it's just like having those conversations when you've had a hard night is tough anyway. Yeah. It takes a level of experience. It takes a reminder of, I don't want to be in the police station later, to not instigate it, and also to just realise that it's not worth instigating it. But when everything you do or say, you give someone a reason why they can't come in, and you misspeak a word. Like we will do in this episode, we will stutter a little bit because you do. You stutter and you don't even know, do you? And it's just you just kind of have to accept it. And you're right, I do feel because this generation in general are so worried about what's on social media about them. Videos. Well,
the thing is, it's controversial, isn't it? So a video of a door supervisor doing something which is outrageous goes viral.
Yeah.
So before you know it, you're being judged by that, and you see someone, a clip of someone restraining someone on the floor, and I'm like, well, what were they? What did they do to be put on the floor? We're not seeing that, are we?
No.
What did they do when they were asked to calm down? We're not seeing that. We're only seeing a door supervisor who now suddenly has got 3 or 4 of the door supervisors holding someone down. Excessive force. Well, how many times was the guy carrying something? Had he threatened to use something? Again, social media is a real... I mean, it's good from the point of view that it's there's evidence there, and if you're filming that, and then you can use it as evidence to say you dealt with it appropriately. But most people don't care about that. They just want to see the controversy. They want to see, the negative in it. So, I feel for the guys with this current state of everything on social media, everything on YouTube, everything videoed.
And I think the biggest thing we're missing today, what you and I would have had, is and I only know this through the small amount of work I did just after Christmas at a venue, is when we finished our shift, we would all sit down, the bar would give us a free drink, we sit around a table, we laugh stuff off, we joke about stuff, we talk about the night, we build that camaraderie. Then if there's some guidance to be given, it happened then.
Yes.
When you're all sat down, if you're driving, you might have a Red Bull. If you're, the general manager or the landlord would give the team a free drink at the end of the night. That doesn't happen now. As soon as that last customer is out, the doormen are gone. They don't even wait for their brown envelopes anymore.
Well, that's an interesting. So I'd be very interested in people's feedback on that. Do you do a debrief, which we'll talk about? Do you do a debrief? Does the licensee encourage you to sit down, have a chat, talk about the night? Do you get that, complimentary drink? Yeah, you're right. Always used to. And, I didn't drink. I would have a Coke or something. But yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
You did it. But the debrief is so important. And you're absolutely right. And I'd be very interested to know, because I don't know how many security teams out there do it. But that was vital.
One theme we're going to have for this channel, and we've agreed on this, is that we're not going to name and shame the bad, but I think it's important to name the good.
Definitely, yeah.
And I will say this, I didn't work there very many times. I did a lot of midweek shifts there, but there was a venue in Poole called Dundee's.
Yeah, yeah.
And say what you want about the people
Yeah.
who, people have their own opinions on the people involved or who work there. My very brief interaction with them was quite positive, because actually the venue closed at 2. You'd usually get everyone out by 10 past, because the last entry was, I don't know, 20 minutes before, the lights go on just before 2. And there was another venue for everyone to go on to. So actually it wasn't the last venue of the night. Clearing the venue was quite easy. But the whole team were paid until 2:30, no matter what.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and it created that chance for the head doorman or the senior doorman staff to talk to those who were new and to discuss the issues of the night, and not just the, sometimes the seasoned practitioners can make mistakes too, and just talk about things. And I found it was really good, because how often do you go home after a shift and you're still up here?
Yes.
Because I want to get home to my missus. I want to get home because I've got to get up early in the morning for work. Whatever the situation is, you rush home, but you can't sleep. And I just found it gave you that, people could have a cigarette if they smoked, but it created that team building atmosphere I just don't think exists today.
I'd be interested to know. I'd be interested to know what people say about that, whether it does happen, because you're absolutely right. It's so important. Yeah, we always used to make sure we paid that extra half an hour. If a venue finished at 2, they'd always get paid to a 2:30 or whatever, because the debrief was vital. It's as important as a brief.
Yeah.
To have that debrief where you sit there and just say, right, Dan, you all right tonight? You happy with everything? Yeah, no. Or maybe, well, I'm not really happy tonight. I actually experienced something tonight and I want to talk about it. Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Because there's not many jobs out there, let's face it, where you go to work, you spend 4, 5, 6 hours and you're physically there to deal with angry people. You're there to deal and calm down verbally or physically. You're restraining, evicting people. There's no other job like it unless you're in the emergency services. So how can you be expected to shut off at 2 and just go, right, okay, I'm off home now and that's that?
Yeah.
There has to be a frustration point, an outlet, and it's better to have it there rather than have it when you get home or wake up in the morning when you got your wife and kids and you're in a really shitty mood because someone had a pop at you last night and you haven't been able to talk about it. They don't want to. Your partner doesn't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. They're just going to turn around and say, well, get off the doors. You shouldn't be. We don't want you to do it anyway.
Trust me, that suits their narrative anyway.
Yeah, of course. And I do understand, but the time to talk about it is that debrief.
It is.
You're right. And it's good you brought it up.
With people who understand. And I like I said, I just don't think that culture exists anymore. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we want to know.
I've said this many times. I'm not as in touch with what's going on in Bournemouth as perhaps I used to be. So if I'm wrong, please tell me. But
it's very important. Very important. The debrief is very, very important. Also, for the point of the instant book as well. Whilst doing that debrief, you're filling out the instant book, and I want to sit. If I'm the one that's filling it out, I want to say, do you have any contributions to this? Do you have any contributions? Do you have any contributions? Okay, let's get it in. Or actually, whilst I put it in, does that marry up with what you said? You're saying he was 5'2". You're saying he's 6'4". What are we dealing with here? Let's get this instant book nice and tight and sharp and correct. So,
and it gives you that time to do it, and you're not answering questions for an incident that happened 3 weeks ago.
Exactly.
So, and I just feel that people usually finish a shift and then they're quick to rush off to their next shift.
Yeah, there's that as well.
And so they don't really. And if I'm paid till 2, why should I stay past 2 o'clock? There is. And you're right. It's a catch-22 culture that has been allowed to manifest, I think, and there's lots of different areas, and I don't think there's any one reason for it. But you're right. The evolution of the industry from what I was used to compared to what I see today, when I do dip my toe back in, I see a lot of things that just don't sit right with me. Now, part of that is me not adjusting to the time. Yeah. Part of that is actually, no, this isn't right. So I think it would be really interesting to hear from door staff who are working every Friday and Saturday night.
Definitely.
And put us old farts in our place.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like anything. You want to create best practice. Yeah. Like anything. And there will undoubtedly be teams out there, venues, which have great practice. And there'll also be things where you look at it and go, wow, I wish we did that in my time. Yeah. There'll be things which will have moved on. There'll be things which will have advanced. There's so much more technology now, like you say, the body cameras, the radio equipment is getting better and better. So there'll be good things as well.
The body-worn camera, and I cannot stress this enough. There are people who say, I don't want to wear the body-worn camera. I don't want to wear the body-worn camera. That says more about them.
I think so, yeah.
That says more about them. Because do you know what? Just having someone in front of you who's not happy with the decision you made, who might kick off, this might escalate. Hang on, mate. Just turning the body-worn camera on. It's such a deterrent.
Yeah.
It is such a deterrent. And also, if you've got a doorman who you don't quite 100% trust to do things correctly, mate, just let you know I've got the camera on.
Absolutely.
So you without telling them, mate, don't be an idiot here. You're saying it.
Absolutely.
And it just gives you that element of control over a situation. And I wish we had the body-worn camera 20 years ago.
Yeah, me too.
There's lots of things today that I wouldn't want to. I'm glad we didn't have the vests, and I'm glad we didn't have the high vis.
Yeah.
But the body-worn cameras is a fantastic system. It is amazing. It's interesting, the evolution of the industry, and we're very Bournemouth Paul centric. I am hopeful that there are people in other parts of the country watching this. So we do apologise if what we're discussing isn't applicable to your town. But in this area, our little corner of the world, it's funny how things run in cycles. You mopped up the city, you mopped up the town 10 years ago with your mighty First Stop Empire.
Yeah, well, it really did. But it's interesting, like there was myself, Mark and Chris. There was 3 of us. We all, contributed in our own ways. But from a provider point of view, one of the things that I noticed was that you want everything. And this is where you become a victim of your own success again. You want everything. And when I say everything, we wanted the kebab shops. They even had security on taxi ranks. We did the taxi ranks.
They're more dangerous than doors, by the way.
Yeah, but this is where I'm going with it. So pubs, clubs, taxi ranks. We did the beachfront. We did Sandbanks Beach. We had a quad bike that was provided by lifeguards to do our security patrols. It was like Baywatch. We did Studland Nudist Beach. And
What was the dress code there?
It was yellow t-shirts. But mate, my point is, we did everything. We did the rugby sevens.
Yeah.
The student uni ball. Everything. Now, the problem though with that is that to get everything, you start to have a variety of different pay rates, because you're not paying the same to do a taxi rank as you are to run a prestige store. Now, some would say, well, that's a big problem. Well, it is a big problem, but what you do, you adapt and you get a different calibre of staff. The job they did was very important, and you just hit the nail on the head. The taxi ranks, the kebab shops, the Subways, we did Subways, KFC, all of it. They were working for a slightly lesser rate. They were doing like a more of a guarding rate, because there was no alcohol. They were doing a guarding rate. They got paid appropriate for what they were doing in that industry. But what very quickly happened was, these guys were turning around going, look, you put me out there for this. Why is he doing that, getting more, or she? And actually, we're getting more shit. Because the taxi ranks, the kebab shops, were getting more aggro, of course, because it's the end of the night, than the pubs who had a 4 or 5 man team. So the one thing I would change going back was, don't just sell your soul for the, every hour or every penny you can get. Be choosy. We became unchoosy. It was great in the respect that, everyone was coming to us. The council was coming to us. Poole, Bournemouth. We were doing Southampton Uni, everything. But we became overstretched. And I've never met a company to this day who can scale themselves up to a very large point and keep the quality of the guys. When there's 20 of you, it's one thing. 30, 40, 50, one thing. When you start getting 70, 80, 100, you cannot have that quality. And I can think of national providers that are very good for providing the badges and getting the numbers in, but the quality is very poor. And people look at it, they criticise, but it's just the way it is. You can't find 100 people just like that are like you or I. It just doesn't happen. So, yeah, the Empire was good. It was fun. It was great. It was big.
Yeah.
But yes, we grew very fast, very quick, and we grew too quick.
It's very interesting because I was on the other side. I wasn't on the other side of that battle, but I worked for the rival company at the time, who I think, without naming names, they were your biggest competition in the area. Yeah,
definitely.
Sometimes, we know you First Stop will come in and take that venue, but then we would get one. And I think there was a bit of to and fro, and probably undercutting, know, which is. But at what point in time did the industry lend itself more to the in-house work, the licensees employing their doorman directly? Because there's pros and cons to both, right? If I own my own venue, do I want to go and recruit 4 doormen, and if one of them is sick, I've got to find someone to come in and cover him, or do I want to pay over the top and get Mark to do it for me?
Good question.
But there was definitely a shift, probably before COVID, I would say, where the First Stops and the other big companies in the area started losing work, not to each other, but to the licensees themselves going in-house. So, I mean, describe that a little bit.
Well, so what you find right now is a lot of independence. So the time you're talking about, you had First Stop Security, these are the big players, but there was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And pretty much 3 or 4 players would have everything. But then what started happening was basically when the SAA came into effect, they then turned around and said, well, because they wanted to eradicate in-house, which I understand. So they said, well, if you're going to work in-house now, you have to, as a licensee, have to be SIA licensed. So a lot of licensees went, well, I don't want a security license. I just want staff. So okay, we'll go back out to a security provider. And then what happened was the door security went, oh, well, how about this? You employ us. I'll call myself PPJ Security Services and I'll manage the door. So the licensee was like, fucking brilliant. All right, I want Mark and Dan every Friday, Saturday night, but you've got the security license, so you're going to call yourself da-da-da-da. Brilliant. So you had that a lot. And all these little security companies were starting up, but they were just 1 or 2 man bands.
Yeah, I remember that.
They were flooding. And then, so we would get people, licensees ring, so I'm really sorry, as you know, Dan is about to leave, but we love Dan. Not you, but you'd already arranged the conversation how it was going to go. So I got used to it after a while. Dan's going to leave. I don't want to lose Dan. Can you keep him? Well, I know I can't because you've already told me you're leaving, Dan. But you've done a deal with the licensee now where you're going to get an extra £4 an hour. So yeah, you're off. You manage your own destiny. So these companies were doing in-house. But then, of course, what happens is they don't have the backup. And when Dan wants his holiday or he's finding another job, they don't have anyone to cover Dan. So then they're coming back to us saying, well, could you provide one every Friday and Saturday because Dan's not here anymore? And okay, but the problem is that you want us to subsidise a contract that you've taken from us anyway. So like, no, we're not doing that.
Also, from a legal point of view, so say if there's a 5-man team and you're providing 2 guards to that, 2 doormen to that 5-man team, and something goes horrifically wrong, where does liability stand? Because if the 2 first stop guys have got nothing to do with the incident,
so the liability,
that's such a
I mean, so ultimate liability will always lie with the licensee.
Yeah,
but you got vicarious liability, and so in effect we all are liable depending on the actions we carry out. And it's always going to come back to, did we follow due process? Did we do the correct things? Did we follow our training? Did we follow up on everything? Did we execute our skills appropriately? But ultimately, it's the licensee. So if you injure someone at work, the court will always go for the licensee, because they're going to go, well, you employed him. Did you give him or her the training they need? Well, they did their training through SA. But did you do any in-house training? Did you explain how to evict someone from your premises? Well, no, because they've done it through their SA. No, you're responsible. So they're always going to go for the big dog. Imagine if it's a Wetherspoons, for example.
Yeah.
One of the biggest pub chains in the world. They're going to go for the top man. They're going to go for the chain because they know full well that they can get millions of payout. They're not going to get millions out of me. If I did something and they sue me, you might get something, but you ain't going to get millions, that's for sure.
No.
And if you do, it's going to take the rest of my life to get it. But you're going to go for Wetherspoon. So,
and they're likely to settle, aren't they? Because they don't want the PR.
Of course they are.
They don't want the PR.
So that was a major shift, but it was the SAA. So now, and this is interesting for anyone who watches this and is in any doubt about where they stand. If you work for a licensed premises and you're being employed directly by them, that manager licensee has to have an SA license.
Okay.
So
we've all learned something today.
Yeah. So where you and I have worked, with little man, he has an SA license. If he doesn't have that, he cannot operate the way he does. He would have to go to a security company.
Okay. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So I spent quite a while working at Spearmint Rhino, the gentleman's club.
I bet you loved it.
Yeah, but it was good fun, to be fair.
Were you single at the time?
Yeah, I was.
Of course you were.
but all the management all had SA licenses, so
Okay.
they made sure that, because it was an in-house team.
Yeah. And if the license dictates you need to have 4 licensed operatives, and there is a licensee and 2 assistant managers that all have badges, does that mean they only need 1 doorman to meet their criteria?
No, they make it clear. Well, licensing will make it clear to them that doesn't, because they'll look for loopholes, and we've experienced that. So no, they
Pardon my cynicism.
it's down to licensing to enforce it. But no, they will say, if your license is 3-door supervisor, they're either door supervisors or they're bar staff or management. You can't do both, because they can't physically do that. But you're absolutely right. They'll do it they'll cut corners. But no, if it says 4 security, they have to have 4 security in addition to the SAA management, whatever.
Yeah. One really interesting point I want before we wrap this episode up is working for a First Stop, and I hope you don't mind me using the name First Stop, because it was you essentially.
Yeah.
Working for First Stop and working for First Stop at Venue X is very different for working directly for Venue X. There are differences in subcontract working, for lack of a better term. I think it would be worth exploring the challenges, how to equip yourself when you're working in a subcontracted environment. I don't know if you've had much experience actually as an employee for another company doing this, but when you're working directly for a licensee, you fall out with that licensee, you're out of a job. Yeah. If I'm working for you and I fall out with a licensee, I'm like, Mark, put me somewhere else. Don't send me back there.
Yeah.
But it's just that it's such an interesting dynamic, because when you are working subcontracted, it's who's my boss? Mark pays my wages, but actually, this person's my boss.
I mean, I personally think it's one or the other. You either go directly to that bar, or you go through a proper company, because it becomes a grey area. And you're absolutely right. And inevitably, most of the time, they end up falling out, or they end up just going in-house. But it's a tricky one. And I've there's several times where a licensee has come to me and said, can you take on my security, but I want you to keep the security I've got. So my first question is, why? Why do you want me to do that? Well, there's been an incident and police licensing have put pressure on me. I'm like, okay, but the incident's probably as a result of the guys you've got. So
or at least some of them.
Some of them. So you're kind of using me as an umbrella scapegoat, because it's probably going to happen again. So I'd rather we get rid of the security and start again. Or, by all means, if you want me to come in and work as a consultant, and I'll help mentor and train your staff. Yeah, I'll do that. But it's a grey area.
I've seen a lot of people when contracts change. So a different company wins a contract, and there's a regular team in place. They just 2P over, because they're settled in that venue.
Right.
They go and work at Weatherspoons, or they go and work at Yates's, or they go. I'm naming the chains because I don't want to name the private licensees. But it's just really interesting, because how many times I've worked for a chain for a security company, and there's a member of the team who's a bit of a liability. You try and work with them, but you're not really getting anywhere. You go to your head doorman, the head doorman goes to the area manager, but the problem is that doorman is in a relationship with the assistant manager at the venue. There's so many interesting dynamics at play there. Or they just, you find people who they get by on their people skills in terms of how they just winning the approval of the licensee or the assistant managers. And
I mean, mixing business with pleasure is never a good thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But we've all done it, I'm sure. I certainly have.
Yeah.
You know, I've dated people that I've met in that industry, in that venue, but it very rarely works because they will always become you become compromised.
Yeah.
You know, you start to feel comfortable. You start to take liberties, or they take liberties, or suddenly you've got home life coming into work life, and it's stressful. And I've seen it on all levels, and it's not a good thing.
Also, you forget who you're working for, because I worked I worked regularly at a venue for a long period of time in a subcontracting environment. I almost forgot who paid my wages, actually, I didn't get into a relationship with anyone from the staff or anything like that, but I was very much felt part of that venue more than the company I was representing.
Yeah.
To the point where I'd leave my badge and coat in their staff room from Sunday to Thursday.
Yeah.
Which, it's nice that there was an environment there where it isn't them and us with the subcontracted staff, and it's nice that I felt part of the wider team. So I'm not criticising it. But equally, you're always one phone call away from, we've lost that venue.
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
And you develop bad habits, because I've worked at this venue for 2 years without remembering that in the subcontract world, you just never know. And you need to be adaptable, because contracts do change.
The other thing to bear in mind is that the industry, I remember, you know, always a very recognisable figure in the pub and club trade always said to me, we used to work for him, and he said, these businesses have a 4-year lifespan. A good business normally has a 4-year lifespan in the licensing trade, because what normally comes along, you're the best thing out there, and then the next one comes along. This is why Wetherspoons and companies have absolutely nailed it. Because Wetherspoons came along in the 90s, and I remember 95 or 94, the Moon and the Square opening. No dress code, no kids. At that time, no smoking at the bar, and that was when everyone had smoking. That was quite revolutionary. No dress code. You can drink coffee, refill it all day long. Wi-Fi when it came in, free Wi-Fi. Most pubs didn't have it, and you're thinking, like, you're doing the cheapest drinks in town. You're letting the dregs in here, but mate, look at them now. They knew full well they had a niche there. Good, cheap, affordable, decent enough drink and food. No dress code, no smoking at the bar, which was revolutionary because everyone was still doing smoking. And now, 30 odd years on, they're the most dominant force. Every town's got a Wetherspoons, and they're always busy.
And I think when you're looking at Wetherspoons, their competition isn't the late night venues, is it? If you look at, with the exception of one or two that we know about, you got one or two that may have a DJ and they'll open till 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. But actually, they were competing with your locals. Yeah. They were competing with the local boozers. They were. They close at 12. Yeah. You know, so the guys that are getting drunk in Wetherspoons will be refusing an hour later for their dress code.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but you're right. They hit the nail. They hit the nail on the head because, I mean, I go in there for food sometimes. Yeah. And they've managed to find, and I don't want to be an advert for Wetherspoons here, but they've managed to find that right balance between being cheap but not being cheap quality.
Exactly.
The food's okay. I mean, listen, you're not getting a gourmet meal out of them.
No, but you're getting good quality for what you're paying.
Exactly.
And the venues are nice as well. They always pick nice venues. They're like, you know, an old cinema or an old bank that they've kind of cleaned up. And the decor's good.
And I guess from a risk assessment point of view, it's okay to let these people get as pissed as they want because we're shutting at 12.
Yeah,
they're going to be Mark's problem when they turn up at the nightclub.
That's true, yeah.
Which isn't an ethical way of practicing.
No, but you're right. You're right.
You know,
yeah.
Whether that's deliberate or not, I don't know. I'd like to think not.
No.
But it is the reality.
No, there's the reality.
It is the reality.
But
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's that fine balance, isn't it? I think our generation, through this podcast and other means, has a lot to give to people working today.
Definitely.
But we need to be mindful that this isn't 2006.
No.
This isn't 1994. This isn't, you know, we are where we are. The culture in the community, not just door work, but in general, is completely different.
Absolutely.
People aren't as affluent as they used to be.
No.
Licensees are less picky than they used to be.
Yeah.
You have to be a lot more tolerant today than perhaps I would like in terms of the standards I'd pick. I don't like the term turning a blind eye, because I think that sets the culture of what we're actually seeing today. But like you said, if venues weren't letting troublemakers in, a lot of venues would go out of business.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you and I wouldn't have a job, and you guys wouldn't have a job, and
the pub and club trade is dying. You know, that's the reality of it. You know,
100%.
There's pubs and clubs shutting down every week now on massive numbers.
Not that we don't want to discourage anyone from coming into the security industry, please.
No, definitely not. And then the actual requirement for security is ever more bigger than ever.
Yes.
It's just spread over more sectors.
Yes.
So the security game is still very strong, and then will get stronger. But the actual pub and clubs, there's so many shutting down now because of the costs of overheads of these bars. It's just astronomical.
Yeah, and we've spoken before. What links us is door work, essentially. But you've just made a good point. There's so many other areas of security we can discuss, and there's areas of security that you've worked in that I haven't. There's areas of security I've worked in that you haven't. So in future episodes, you know, we will dive into those areas, because I think there's a lot of good conversations to be had there. Please put in the comments what areas of security you'd like us to waffle on about and discuss and help you with, and any opinions you might have of the topics we've gone over today. Are we just a pair of old farts who wish things were the way they were back in our day?
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
In my day.
Yeah. Are we out of touch?
No. Well, I'm definitely not. My finger's not right on the pulse, but no, we still got a good idea of what's going on.
I think so.
I
think so. But I'm not willing to accept that what I'm seeing out there today is okay.
No. It needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
There's some very good practice.
Oh.
But we want to see that. We want to meet people. We want to know, where is the good practice? I want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see it, and I want to go, okay, that's good. That's good. And let's share that good practice.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, guys, if you run a venue, or you're a licensee of a venue, and you do operate in a way that you feel is really, really, really positive, and you want us to come out and meet you, and you tell us what you're doing that's positive, and we can promote your venue in the meantime, let us know, because I think good work needs rewarding.
Yeah, of course it does.
Especially today.
Definitely.
Especially today. Venues are struggling.
They are.
And I'm happy to help all the ones that are doing things. Cause
absolutely.
I think in today's society, people feel they're going to get punished by doing the right thing. You know, I don't want to let those people in, because I know I shouldn't. However, my business is struggling. Yeah. I know I should record every incident I have, but I don't want it to affect my license when it comes to renewal. Yeah. These are genuine concerns that licensees have.
Absolutely.
And what you got to remember, if these businesses go flat, how are these people going to feed their families? So
definitely.
I when people are doing things right, tell us. We'll come out and we will share it. Because I think that's a really important message.
Definitely. Another great episode.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much. Hit that like button, subscribe, share. You're going to get bored of seeing us. That's okay. We don't mind. We've got thick skin. Yeah. And do you know what? If you want to go in the comments and tell Mark he's a bellend, that's absolutely fine too.
Just make sure you leave your name and details so we know who you are. No anonymous stuff.
Yeah, we'll share it on our socials. Take care, guys. Look after yourselves. Stay safe.
Cheers.